Can you see any scenario where you wake up Monday morning and Cam Ward won his first NFL start on the road at Sean Payton?
No,
Yeah,
I don't think that's. Yeah, I don't think that's happening. I think the Broncos are very safe, and I didn't do. Now that I have more time on my hands, I might do a look-see of number 1 overall quarterbacks drafted, like Cam Ward. You know, like where was Bledsoe's first game? You know what I mean? And then kind of what they did. I bet you we might find a pattern of overall. Maybe I got something in my little research packet here. I was going to say, when you get to, number 1 overall picks and kind of how they start their career, how they start the year, I would not expect Cam Ward to lead a 4-win football team into Denver with competent coaching. If they were Nathaniel Hackett, I might be like, be a little nervous. Sean Payton's not going to soil himself on week 1.
Yeah, and I don't love Callahan father and son combo necessarily either. I have a lot of confidence that the Cincinnati Bengals go into Cleveland and find a way not to lose week 1 again. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I would probably, for as much as I like Denver, I feel really good about Cincinnati going into Cleveland. Cleveland feels like, well, first of all, they're going to start Joe Flacco. So
right.
if it turns into a shootout, which it likely won't, Cleveland is not made for that. If this game gets in the 30s, Cleveland is not made for that. And I think you have divisional familiarity. Now, Jay, I know there are those, there was a thing the other day that I saw on Survivor Myths, right? And one of them was about in-division games, trying to stay away from them. I'm kind of the other way. Where am I going to have more intel? Baltimore and Buffalo? Or do I have lots of intel on the Bengals and the Browns because they play each other twice a year? I think you have more information when it comes to now you are assuming a level of risk in those divisional games because even we in the heyday of New England, Jay, have seen like Miami or Buffalo pull an upset along the way during the regular season. But week 1, Bengals, what is that, -5.5? Sign me up for that all day long.
Your point's very well taken, and we've talked a lot about zigging when other people zag. But I think the key is really in terms of these division games is to pay attention to what your biases are, right? So, and not be biased one way or another, to not eliminate a game. Oh, it's a division game. I don't know. These things can be close. Sometimes division,
right.
But right. To not just, but to look at each game individually and look for the opportunities. I think that's really the key, but I agree with you. I like the Buffalo-Baltimore game. I'm sure that I could find you many, many smart handicappers on both sides if forced to play that game. All right. So as we go through the slate,
can I give you another suggestion to consider if you haven't already come up with it yet? No one has given Aaron Rodgers any respect. He's a under 3-point favorite. He's a 2.5-point favorite on the road at the Jets. Jay, you and I have watched New England football for 30 years, if not longer. When have the Jets ever gotten anything right? They don't. And look, that game is now, what is that? Is that a 1 or a 3? Okay. I was going to say, I'm like, wait, it's down to 1, but no, Pittsburgh -3 against a Jets team who ain't going to be able to score. Thank you, Cody, for my old eyes.
A lot of sharp handicappers that I've talked to agree with you about the Pittsburgh Steelers, you can be sure. The only thing that gives me pause there is Aaron Rodgers coming back in town and just the little bit of adrenaline and juice to play for Aaron Glenn and the wild card that is Justin Fields, right? Look, more people are going to tell you that he doesn't belong as a starting quarterback in the NFL than will tell you otherwise. But it's not, Gresh, it's not like you're going to be completely shocked. Maybe you would be completely shocked if the Jets win that game.
Because I think Justin Fields blows. And I was out on him from the very beginning. Again, that was that whole Mac Jones class. You have no reason to trust that guy. And you're right. You know what? Maybe you get good Justin Fields for a half. him putting together a full game, and Rodgers also has a point to prove too. You know, there are a lot of people out there.
I'm with you.
Yeah, there are a lot of people out there who are screaming that, oh, this guy can't play. But I would just say that if you haven't narrowed down already, that would be one I would co-sign on. The Jets winning week 1. We've never lived in that world.
So one thing I just want to mention quickly before we move on to the Patriots, you had talked about whether, I'm not sure if it was on our show or otherwise, but to what extent in these contests, these Survivor contests, you look to just sort of fade a bad team, right? For those of you that don't know, in a Survivor contest, you have to pick just a team to win a game every week, but you can't use the same team twice. So, Gresh, we talk about whether it's Saints, whether it's Browns, what these teams are that we may want to fade, right? So I just want to, like, to me, the worst quarterback situations in the NFL have to, or the worst starting quarterbacks, Spencer Rattler of the Saints, Joe Flacco and the Browns. I actually kind of like Daniel Jones on the Colts more than most, Russell Wilson on the Giants, but those are like the 4 worst quarterback situations, in my opinion. And I bring it up in the context that I feel as though the quarterback situations, at least on paper going into week 1, feel better, feel more stable than they have maybe in the past, where you could look at maybe 6 to 7 to 8 quarterback situations and be like, I don't know. Go ahead. Looks like you were going to say
no, but I understand what you're vibing in, and Justin Fields would be a perfect example of that, because I would throw him in that, grab bag of yuck that you were just talking about. But now we're getting to the point to where it's, former first round picks who are now at the bottom of the quarterback food chain, let's say. So it makes it feel different, right?
If it were,
undrafted Joe from Mesopotamia State who was going to be starting for the, for the Saints, then we would look at it and be like, holy crap. At least with them, it's Rattler. He's been in the league a little bit. Like it's not like you're bringing in, a UFL quarterback just to kind of get you through a couple of weeks.
I agree. And what gives me pause, obviously, is like the Giants defensive line is going to, with some of these teams, right? Let's say you want to fade the Giants. I'm not in the business of fading the Giants this season. I think potentially they have 3 capable quarterbacks. But like Spencer Rattler on the Saints, what's the ceiling there? And Joe Flacco on the Browns. To me, I'm not suggesting these 2 teams are tanking. But you got Arch Manning lurking. I know he didn't have a good first week, but you know what I mean? So you think about the Saints, and you think about the Browns, whatever it may be. So those are a couple of teams that I think, as a Patriots fan last year, we kind of hoped that Drake May would play well and they would lose the game. So I guess as I think about the Survivor contest and put a bow on that, in terms of teams I'm trying to fade, I don't think there's a big handful right now of easy teams to fade. Maybe it'll look different after week 1.
Yeah, I think some of it is really matchup dependent. Like, you might not fade the Jets every week, but in this spot, home opener, Steelers, little juice from Rodgers coming in, that would be, that's one where you consider. Because I think to your point, Jay, we will find the 4 worst teams in football, and from a Survivor standpoint, a lot of people will go that route. And then it becomes matchup dependent, right? Like, I really believe New Orleans is tanking. I think they know they suck. I think they want to suck because potentially, even though Arch Manning did not blow doors at Ohio State, getting Arch Manning on that football team changes that organization. For those who
changes the economy potentially of the city.
Well, it's funny that you were, because literally, do you know what I was going to?